Chapter 2. The Boston Tea Party. Many people in the 13 colonies in America drank tea. Though tea was not cheap, people liked it so much that they saved up to buy it. That was, until the British Parliament and King George placed a tax on it. Then the colonists said they would stop drinking British tea. Placing a tax on tea made the tea more expensive. What did the colonists like to drink? Since tea was not cheap, what did the colonists need to do in order to buy it? What did the colonists decide to do when King George and British Parliament taxed tea? British ships bringing tea to the colonies were turned away. Then, on a cold winter day, the governor in Boston allowed 3 British ships carrying tea to sail into Boston Harbor. That night, a group of men who were dressed like Native Americans climbed onto the ships. They threw the tea into the water. This became known as the Boston Tea Party. Being turned away means that the ships were not allowed to enter the colonies and were sent back where they came from. A governor is the leader of a colony or a state. A harbor is part of an ocean, lake, or sea that is next to land and is a safe, protected place for boats. Dumping the tea into the harbor ruined all the expensive tea that the ships had brought. What did colonists in Boston do when ships with tea arrived in Boston Harbor? Why do you think the colonists dressed as Native Americans? When protesters sometimes dressed up like Native Americans back then, they were trying to show that they were free and would not be controlled by a ruler. Why do you think the colonists threw the tea into the harbor? News of what had happened in Boston spread. Soon, many people in the colonies were celebrating the Boston Tea Party. However, when the news reached King George and Parliament, they became very angry. They sent British warships to close Boston Harbor. With the harbor closed, no food or supplies could get in. British warships closing the Boston Harbor by staying at the entrance to the harbor and making sure no ships went in or out of the harbor made it hard for the settlers to trade or sell goods. What did people in the other colonies do when they heard about the Boston Tea Party? What did King George and Parliament do when they heard about the Boston Tea Party? What did it mean for the colonists to have Boston Harbor closed? To show their support for the people of Boston, colonists from across the 13 colonies sent food and clothes. The British sent more British soldiers to keep order. The colonists called the British soldiers redcoats because of their bright red uniforms. When people show their support, they do something to show their approval or agreement. The colonists showed they agreed with the people of Boston by doing something, sending food and clothes to the people of Boston. To keep order means to make sure people follow the rules. How did the colonists show their support for the people of Boston? What did the British do to keep order? What did the colonists call the British soldiers, and why? What was the Boston Tea Party, and why did it happen?